Here is a clean, rewritten version with smoother flow, stronger emotional impact, and no music cues. I kept the meaning but refined the delivery so it feels natural, powerful, and ready for voiceover. They were never afraid of losing you. That's why they lost you. They moved through the relationship as if your presence was permanent, as if no matter how distant they became, how careless their words felt, or how inconsistent their effort was, you would still be there. And for a long time, you were. You stayed through the mood shifts, the half-explanations, the nights you felt alone while sitting right beside them. You convinced yourself that love meant endurance, that loyalty meant waiting, that patience would eventually be rewarded. They mistook your commitment for dependency, your understanding for weakness, your silence for acceptance. But what they didn't realize was this: you weren't staying because you had no options. You were staying because you had hope, and hope has a breaking point. There was no dramatic exit, no screaming, no revenge, just a quiet shift. The moment you stopped trying to fix what they kept neglecting, the moment exhaustion replaced optimism, the moment you realized staying hurt more than leaving. And that's when everything changed, because the day you emotionally detached was the day they began to notice. If you've ever been the one who always stayed, this may feel uncomfortably familiar. 1. They confused your loyalty with permission. They didn't plan to lose you. They simply stopped fearing it. At first, they appreciated you, the way you showed up, made space for their bad days, and listened without interrupting. But appreciation turned into expectation. Expectation turned into assumption. They began to believe your consistency was automatic, that no matter how often they postponed plans, replied late, or ignored your feelings, you would still be there tomorrow. And you were, not because you lacked strength, but because you believed in working through things. You believed love meant choosing the same person even when it wasn't convenient. What they didn't see was the cost. Every time you forgave too quickly, something inside you grew quieter. Every time you accepted the bare minimum, your standards shifted downward. Every time you said, "It's okay," when it wasn't, your patience wore thin. They assumed your tolerance was endless. But hearts don't explode loudly. They shut down silently. The shift didn't happen the day you left. It happened the day you stopped reminding them to care, stopped explaining why something hurt, stopped arguing and started observing. They didn't notice. Because when someone believes you'll always stay, they stop paying attention to the signs that you're slowly detaching. 2. The moment they felt you pull away. It wasn't your silence that alarmed them. It was your calmness. You stopped over-explaining, stopped asking for reassurance, stopped reacting the way you used to. At first, they thought it was maturity. No more drama, they told themselves. But you weren't calmer. You were done. You stopped checking your phone every few minutes, stopped adjusting your schedule around theirs, stopped giving energy where effort wasn't returned. For the first time, you matched their pace. That's when it unsettled them. They were used to being emotionally pursued, used to you initiating difficult conversations and repairing the distance. Now you were still kind, still respectful, just emotionally unavailable in a way they couldn't explain. You no longer argued to be understood. You observed. And observation is dangerous, because when someone assumes you'll always stay, your emotional independence feels like rejection. They noticed the space, not physical space. You were still there, but the emotional gap. The warmth softened, the urgency disappeared. For the first time, they felt uncertainty and quiet fear. 3. When they tried to pull you back. The moment they felt the distance, they changed. Not completely, not permanently, just enough. They became more attentive, more present, more curious about your day. They sent longer messages, made plans first, said things they hadn't said in months. And for a moment, it almost worked. Because part of you still cared, but something inside you had shifted. You were no longer responding from hope. You were responding from clarity. You noticed the timing. How the effort appeared only when your energy disappeared. How affection increased when your availability decreased. It wasn't growth, it was reaction. They weren't afraid of hurting you before. They were afraid of losing access. They tried guilt. You've been distant lately. They tried charm. Why do you feel different? They tried vulnerability. I don't want to lose what we have. But you weren't punishing them. You were protecting yourself. And once a person learns to protect their peace, they don't unlearn it easily. For the first time, you weren't afraid of walking away, and they realized something they never prepared for. You staying was a choice, not a guarantee. 4. When they realized you might not always stay, they began imagining life without you. Coming home to silence that wasn't temporary, sending messages that wouldn't return warmth, celebrating milestones without telling you first. The confidence they once had cracked. They replayed conversations, moments you asked for more, moments you expressed hurt softly, moments you tried to connect while they stayed distracted. For the first time, they saw it clearly. You weren't asking for too much. You were asking to be valued, and they responded as if you had nowhere else to go. They understood too late. You didn't leave because you stopped loving. You left because you started loving yourself enough to expect consistency. 5. What happened next? At first, they waited. They assumed you just needed space. That eventually, like always, you would return, but this time you didn't. You didn't send the "Are we okay?" text. You didn't reopen conversations they closed. You didn't chase clarity from someone who stopped offering it, and the silence began to echo. They noticed your absence in ordinary moments, when something good happened and you weren't the first call, when something bad happened and your comfort wasn't there. They realized your presence had been doing more than they acknowledged. You weren't just there, you were stabilizing chaos, softening their edges, balancing their inconsistency. And when you stepped back, they were left alone with the version of themselves you used to absorb. They didn't just lose you, they lost the emotional safety you created. And now they understand. You were never guaranteed to stay. You were choosing to, and once you chose differently, there was no undo button. If you were the one who finally walked away, understand how powerful that moment was. Not because you left someone, but because you stopped abandoning yourself. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is accept that your presence is no longer valued and remove it with dignity. You don't have to announce your worth. You demonstrate it by what you no longer tolerate. The strongest people aren't the ones who stay forever. They're the ones who know when it's time to go. If you were the one who finally walked away, understand what that moment truly meant. You didn't give up on love. You gave up on abandoning yourself to keep someone else comfortable. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is accept when your presence is no longer valued and step back with dignity. Let your absence teach the lesson your loyalty never could, because your peace is not something you negotiate for, it is something you protect. If you're ready to choose peace, comment, "I choose myself." Like this video if you're done questioning your sensitivity. Subscribe if you want reminders that love should feel safe, steady and whole, not something you recover from. You're not late. You're right on time.